အားလုံးမင်္ဂလာပါကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်ဒီline up education page ကနေကြိုဆိုပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်ဒီ interview လေးမစခင်ပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့ပညာရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့တူတာတွေသတင်းတွေ video တွေမဟုတ်ရင် online class course တို့ဟုတ်လား online lesson တွေကြည့်ကျင်တယ်မြင်ကျင်တယ်တွေ့ကျင်တယ်ဆိုရင်ကျွန်တော်ရဲ့ page line up education မဟုတ်ရင် education ကို like page ကြပါ follow လုပ်page ကြပါပေါ့နော်ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဒီနေ့ကျွန်တော် interview မဲ့လူကတော့Aleksandar Serafimoski ကျွန်တော် Alex ပေါ့နော်သူကတော့ဒီIT company ကြီး ThoughtWorks မှာ IT consultant နဲ့လုပ်နေပါတယ်သူစီကနေပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော် communication နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့အရေးကြီးတဲ့အချက်လေးလက်တွေ့ကြတဲ့ဟုတ်လားexperience တွေလက်တွေ့ကြတဲ့သူ့ရဲ့skill လေးတွေဟုတ်လားသူတွေ့ကြုံလေးတွေ share ပေးတော့မှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်again all right thank you Alex like I always tell it to my, to everyone that I interview, I want to thank you for doing this, for your willingness to share, what you know, your knowledge, your insight, and your experience. So I'm going to give the floor or the camera to you to introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Alex or Aleksandar Serafimoski. I'm from a small Eastern European country called Macedonia. It's quite small. People related to either Alexander the Great or Mother Teresa. She was born there. I know Kai from university. We were roommates in university, and so we've stayed in touch. Also, I had the privilege to visit Burma just for vacation when I used to live in China, which was an amazing experience. So I'm very glad to be here. I work for, as Kai mentioned, I've worked for a small, if you can call it small, I guess. I work for an IT consultancy called ThoughtWorks, working with a lot of large corporations and different clients in order to help them satisfy their IT needs.
Awesome, thank you. So my first question is, what does an IT consultant do? What is an IT consultant? A lot of people don't know. So in Burmese, IT consultants are Bali. IT consulting are Balo Lesra, Shebiru.
Yeah, so an IT consultant is an individual who comes into a company and helps that company come up with a solution for a problem that they're facing. IT consultants can play many different roles depending on different individuals, but anywhere from programmers to business analysts that collect the requirements from the business, project managers, solution architects, and so on and so forth. I think from an IT consultancy perspective, basically people hire us when they have a problem that they want to solve or they need to transform their business. However, either they don't have the time, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the knowledge in order to do it. So we usually come in, our projects, usually for individuals, they last anywhere between 9 to 12 months. We come in, we work with them, put them on the right path, and then kind of like transfer the ownership of whatever we were doing to them, and then move forward to the next project. So in a nutshell, it's basically allowing your client or customers to develop a successful IT strategy and basically execute it.
Awesome, thank you. Like I said, a lot of people don't know what it is, so I think, thank you for such a well thought about explanation on that. So you work with ThoughtWorks, so obviously it's also a company that I would like to know more about. So if you could share, what it does and what is it like to work for a company like that?
Yeah, so ThoughtWorks is a very interesting company. It was started, I think, in 1993 by Roy Singham. So if people research Roy Singham is an activist. He's also a feminist. He believes in just basically a lot of these progressive ideas that are coming to the States. So when I joined ThoughtWorks, we used to have 3 pillars, which was very, very interesting. And this idea was taken from Ben and Jerry's, which is the famous ice cream manufacturer in the States. The 3 pillars were producing, the first pillar was running a sustainable business, which means we need to make money in order to pay our employees and to get offices and so on and so forth. The second pillar was making the best software there is in the field. And then the third pillar was social and economic justice. And under the social and economic justice, we had a lot of projects where we donated a lot of our time of people like me, where they would work on software that helped different non-government organizations or different governments and so on and so forth. So I know we worked with UNICEF for a little bit. Then there was a project that was done for the hospital system in Haiti. Currently, there is a project that basically takes in the data from the Chicago Police Departments and makes it public. So it's a very interesting company. I've been with the company for 8 years. It's my first and only professional job. So I haven't had any other jobs outside of this. But what I like is you get to work with a lot of smart people. You get to solve a lot of interesting problems. There is a travel component when COVID, of course, is not here. So traveling to your client side, which is quite good. So yeah, overall, pretty cool company, and with a little bit of a touch from a social and economic justice, so giving back to the community.
That's awesome. I think, it's probably like one of the first company that is pretty progressive and like really focuses on like, social economics justice. Not just trying to make money, but also like branching out to like taking care of the community. So which is interesting to know. Thank you. So I think you kind of touched on it, but then I always like to ask interesting facts about the company. Like some fun facts. Any interesting thing that you want to share with us about ThoughtWorks or just consulting in nature? So in Burmese, the ThoughtWorks နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဗောလေစိတ်ဝင်စားစရာအချက်လေးတွေဟလာ share လုပ်ရမလားမသိဘူး
Yeah, so I think around the company, a couple of interesting things, right? Like I think we're operating in 13 countries with like 40 offices.
13, wow, okay.
Yeah, yep. So I think Australia, China, Thailand.
There's one in Germany too, right?
Yeah, European Union, North America, South America. We used to have a presence in Turkey and Africa, but since we've closed it, so yeah, it's all over the place. Another thing is, for a couple of years now, we've been an example for equal hiring for men and women within the industry. So I know that we've won a couple of awards during the Grace Hopper conference that happens here in the United States, which is a conference for women IT technologists to go in over a weekend and to kind of hear presentations, network, and so on and so forth. And then the last interesting thing is I think the amount of travel that we do. So within the United States, pretty much most of our consultants or employees travel back to and from the client side, which allows you to kind of see the United States and then also to see different cities. If I was to switch to consulting is an interesting industry. So basically, as I said previously, you're going into a company and offering your knowledge to kind of help your clients. People have preconceived notions about consultants, that they're rude, that they're arrogant, that they're there to fire people. I've never had that like assignment like that. Like we usually don't go in and just cut the workforce. Usually we mainly are there to kind of teach the people of the company, the employees of the company, how to develop a solution and to be more efficient and effective in executing their business strategy.
That's interesting because I think that you said, consulting, obviously, I think when I think of somebody giving advice to companies, they would look to maximize profit. I mean, that would mean like, cutting off some jobs, and maybe that's what they're looking at, but looks like there are a lot of benefits to it too, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So stuff that we've done is basically within programming, just as an example, usually programmers either work by themselves, or also there's pair programming where two people work on the same task in front of two monitors and then they collaborate. Usually what we do is we use these pair programming techniques and methods in order to train the employees of the company where we're working at, and basically get them up to speed to some of the modern software practices. Most of these companies that at least I've worked with are large corporations that are working with mainframes and so on and so forth. And I think that's where they need that education level or a little bit of a kick in order to get to the modern software practices and be successful within the industry.
That's awesome. I think looks like you guys touch into like making it more efficient and obviously building uh kind of consulting them on like some updates or what's the latest technology to help them get better. So thank you for that. So I mean this is like the important part that I want to get into. My next question is obviously consulting job involves a lot of communication, right? So you have to talk to customers, clients. You need to get to know them. Like it's a lot of communication skills that are involved in here. So in Burmese, communication or consulting အလုပ်ဆိုတာ communication အရင်လိုပါတယ်ဟုတ်လား customer တွေ client တွေနဲ့စကားပြောတယ်တွေ့ရတယ်အထီးတွေ့အရမ်းများတယ်ဒီတော့ communication နဲ့ပတ်သက်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဟို Alex ရဲ့အတွေ့အကြုံလေးshare ပေးလို့ရအောင်လားမသိ
Yeah, so I would say consulting, at least in my words, is I think one is communication and the second one is willing to learn and adapt. And I think both of those are very important. I think from a communication perspective, consulting is just creating relationships with people and being able to influence them to make decisions in a certain way, or at least offer suggestions on what you think makes the most sense for the situation at hand. And so from a communication perspective, it's very important to get to know the people that you're working with. And then also to understand their pain points and what are their problems before offering solutions. Usually I'm an extrovert naturally, so I would like to, usually when I meet people at a client side who are not working for ThoughtWorks but working for the client, I usually try to hang out with them, go to dinners, go to lunches, because that helps you bridge that gap of you being a foreign body into their organization, and then kind of helps you create a relationship and then build on top of that relationship to make your day-to-day life more efficient. So.
Oh, I mean, it's so important to have that human touch, right? It's not just a technical side, but again, just knowing people because you're dealing with people's problem, which is so important.
So as I said before, I'm an extrovert, and usually that helps me out when starting conversations with people because I enjoy being around people, I enjoy talking to people, I enjoy learning a lot about people. However, if you're not an extrovert, so if you're an introvert, or particularly if you're shy or new to this country, so I came into the States 2007. And when I was new, it wasn't as easy, even though I'm an extrovert, in order to start these conversations because you're not familiar with the culture, and you're not sure what are these cultural norms that you need to follow when starting a conversation. So I guess for introverts or people who are shy or even people who are not from the United States, usually I think like specifically for foreigners, it really helps out to understand what are the cultural norms, and you can do a lot of this by kind of watching movies or understanding what is expected and or what is the way of relationships between friends in a particular country. I think once you know that, usually people that I've ran across, like 90% of people in the States, are really interested in talking to you and open to kind of chat with you. And so I think this is both for people who are not from the States, but and also who are shy and introverted. I think just caring about things that people are interested in, such as their hobbies or their last book they read, or what gets them excited, is usually a good way to get to know someone and to start that conversation with someone, even though this is not natural to you. You're not going to be an expert overnight, so what I would say is create a plan or a schedule and some goals and stick to them. So maybe you say like, hey, I'm going to talk to one new person every day. And that's a good starting point where it can tell you, like, you can approach people and you can see what works and what doesn't work for you and improve over time. The second question is, what are some ways of just how to get along with coworkers and working as a team? For every team to be successful, there needs to be a lot of trust and between the team members, which will help you build further relationships and allow the team to work together as a one cohesive unit. So in order to build that trust, usually what I've done in the past is getting to know people outside of work. What gets them excited? What are their hobbies? What do they want to do after 5 o'clock? And then also sharing your interest and your hobbies and what gets you excited. Usually, by doing this, you'll be able to relate to specific things or similarities that you have with this person, and that usually helps connect you with different individuals on the team. Um, After a while, by getting this connection, you'll be able to work and trust each other and achieve the common goals. I think another very important thing is when people tell you what they care about, don't just say yes and move on. Truly acknowledge what they care about and try to incorporate that into your day-to-day job. And usually people are willing to communicate with you on what they care about. And if they're not, just ask them questions, right? Like people have hobbies and people have interests. And usually, if those interests are really strong, they light up when they talk about it. So ask them questions, understand what they care about, and then align or use what they care about in order to drive the team forward and achieve whatever it needs to be achieved.
So obviously, that kind of alludes into my next question, which is, if you have to name three important skills, right, like, very specific ones, communication skills or strategy, I guess, that you think, will make you successful at your job, what would they be, right? So, Bamalo and Burmese, so communication နဲ့ပေါ့နော် communication skill အရေးကြီးတဲ့သုံးခု ဟုတ်လား strategy သုံးခု skill သုံးခု ပြောရမယ်ဆိုရင် Alex အတွက်ဘာဖြစ်မလဲပေါ့နော်
Yeah, so I would say the first and probably the most important thing is be willing to listen, right? Like so be willing to listen. Often consultants come into environments and they think they know everything and they come off as know-it-all, which kind of shuts down the client. So be willing to listen, be willing to understand their problems, be willing to understand what they're facing. And kind of put yourself in their shoes. The second thing, which is a little bit of communication, but also the ways of working, is make sure that you never come up with because usually within the consulting industry, you're going to talk to people that have been on a project and they will give you their opinions. Always kind of keep an open mind, right? Like, so just because your friend or your colleague didn't work out with this specific person doesn't mean that you should come in being closed off or hostile or so on and so forth. So be prepared to learn and be prepared to create your own first impressions that will help you drive the success moving forward. And then I think the last thing is, because you're creating solutions or creating solutions for people that will need to own them long term, involve the people within the client in the journey of creating the solutions, and then also get their feedback. Their feedback is very important because from a communications perspective, right? Like, you're going to present to their managers, but their managers trust their employees. And so if you don't get their buy-in and if they don't agree with what you're proposing, you're not going to be very successful. So making sure that you're able to bring people on the journey, explain what's going on, and then also create a soft environment, like a safe environment where they can ask you all kinds of questions, and you can kind of teach them moving forward.
Very insightful. I mean, I hope that these skills or these strategies are not just for tech workers, but again, it's definitely applicable to anybody, I guess. Being open-minded, asking questions, and being willing to learn and being open-minded, definitely for sure. So that kind of again takes us to our next question, which is, what are the not to do's in working with client or communicating with them? So in Burmese, the communication နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့မလုပ်သင့်တဲ့ရှောင်သင့်တဲ့အရာလေးတွေပါလဲမသိဘူးเนาะ
Yeah, I think I have two things. I think the first thing is I've seen a lot of people come up with a solution, even myself, come up with a solution without understanding the problem. So you're coming into a new environment and you're saying, oh, your company is paying for me to be here. Now I know everything and I will give you the solution. You got to respect it. So definitely don't come up with solutions until you learn, until you listen to people, until you interview everyone and you understand what's going on. And I think the second thing is, what was I? So yeah, coming. And then also like since you're coming as an employee that is not employed by this company, but it's an outside employee, make sure that you can very easily get over the us versus them, because a lot of times employees will look at you and you're working for a separate company and then you're kind of helping them, and they will say, oh, day and like so employees will eat lunch separately and then consultants will eat lunch separately. Make sure that you create that community because essentially you're working on the same team towards the same goal. Make sure you create a community and make sure you nurture that kind of moving forward.
Definitely. I mean, it must be very challenging. I mean, that's why I'm doing this interview, I guess, because I think, every company, or every, even teaching job, or everything has a culture, like little cliques there. So it must be so hard for an outsider to come in and break that, right?
Yeah.
So, you really have to be, I think, good at it. I think, you have to be really open-minded. And I mean, it must be really challenging. So, so with that, my last question is that what is, one skill? So, obviously a lot of my viewers are very young, high school, college. So like, what is one skill that has been, consistently been helpful to you, like, from, middle school, high school, college year until your, your career. So what is it? So in Burmese, Alex ရဲ့ပေါ့နော် skill တစ်ခုအမြဲတမ်းကူညီခဲ့တဲ့ဟလာဟိုကျောင်းတက်ခဲ့တဲ့ဟလာ high school ကောလေးအခုအလုပ်လုပ်တဲ့အထိကျောင်းတက်ခဲ့တဲ့အခုထိကူညီတဲ့ skill တစ်ခုဆိုရင်ဘာဖြစ်မလဲ
Yeah, so I was thinking like about the one skill. I have not one, but I think two or three skills that,
go ahead.
help me out. I think the first thing that has helped me out is just being open to opportunities. Opportunities are going to come at you, and my kind of goal is to say yes to everything. Hey, and that's how I ended up being an internal teacher for ThoughtWorks in India. That's how I ended up living in China for a year and a half. That's how I've ended up with a lot of interesting opportunities within the company. But even if you're in high school or in your personal life, just say yes to things. And basically, if you think that they're gonna help you out, of course, manage your personal time. So don't let people take advantage of you saying yes. That will diminish your personal time, but saying yes exposes you to a lot of different opportunities that that will give you a perspective on different things in life. The second skill is continuously learn. I realized that recently, and I'm kind of beating myself for it. So when the Corona quarantine started, I started reading more and more books, which kind of helps you understand the field that you're in, and also get bits and snippets if you're picking up books from different fields. Learning allows you to get exposed to different industries or different ways that people are thinking, and then to kind of challenge your way of thinking that you have right now. The next thing is, I would say, I recently spent some time thinking around it again since the Corona started. So no matter who you are, how much money you have, what's your education, all of us have one thing in common, and that's it, right? All of us have limited amount of time in a day, and I think that's 86,400 seconds. That's how much we get. You can be the president of the US or you can be a student. That's the time you get. With that time, you have a couple of options. You can watch Netflix movies, you can hang out with your friends, you can read books. So create a schedule that works for you. that where you can create a balance. You can learn something new, you can have some entertainment, you can stay in shape, and so on and so forth. A lot of my time previously was spent playing video games and watching Netflix movies. And when I kind of look back on those days, I think I've wasted a lot of times that I could have invested in learning and improving myself. And so that's my third thing. Understand that you have this limited time. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy more time. That's how much time you have. And then basically spend improving yourself, but also definitely dedicate some time for entertainment and so on and so forth.
Oh, wow, definitely. So saying yes to opportunities, being open to learning, just learning more, and then time management, so important. Thank you so much, Alex. So any final thoughts on, motivation, like maybe even like a crazy story that you had that you want to share?
So the last thing I have is it's around something I recently read online, which to me resonated a lot with me and kind of has shaped the way I think. We have these small little devices in our pockets that basically have access to all of the information known to mankind. And we are using them to watch cat videos and argue with people that we don't like online. And this quote came from Reddit, which is a forum here in the state. So you have a small device that can pretty much access any information that you want. Use it in a way that will help you improve. And then the next thing is when, basically, with these devices, you can pretty much get a lot of thoughts or the ways people are thinking from many of the experts in the world. I've been recently thinking about how people form opinions. And usually what I would say is when you're thinking about something, like whether it's finance or traveling, go and research what experts in that field think, and then compare their opinions and come up with something that makes sense to you. Don't take things as granted. Make sure you do the research, and then do the research with from the right experts that are there. But yeah, that's pretty much it from my side.
Definitely do your homework, right? Definitely. I think I thank you for sharing that, because like you said, everything is on the cloud these days, right? So if you want to learn something, go watch YouTube. There's thousands, millions of I don't know how many videos are on YouTube, but there's free course online. So I mean, I think we definitely do have to think about how we spend our time with our phone. When you can do so much with it that are positive and they can be constructive for you. Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate that. Thank you for coming. Hopefully, we can, like you said earlier, that we could go to Burma someday, and then hopefully do some of those volunteering, which are not just helpful for us but also constructive for the community there. Be safe out there, man. Hopefully Chicago is doing okay. Looks like it's doing okay. Thank you. I know you're a busy man. You take care. All right. So be safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks. All right. See you later. All right. Yep. Hope to see you soon. Take care, buddy.